Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrett King. Okay, I have a limited amount of time to record, so I want to try to get through this video as quickly as I can, but kind of show you this very cool sort of pattern. Again, these repeating patterns keep showing up, and it's all dealing with mirrored numbers, as the title of this video already suggests. So let me just kind of break it down as to how I went through this whole process of sort of discovering this pattern. So, as you know, as we all know, the number 37 it's a very relevant number in both the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, and this 1111 matrix code. And it's always been this sort of continual thought in the back of my head as to why the number 37, out of all the possible numbers out there, why 3 and 7? And so this just sort of got me thinking of, well, what's unique about the numbers 3 and 7? Other than the fact that they reduce to the number 10 and then reduce again down to the number 1. So that had me thinking of, okay, well, what other numbers, what other groups of numbers, double-digit numbers will do the same thing? And so obviously, if you start to think about it, it's pretty easy to figure out. So the number 19, so 1 and 9, 10, 28, 2 and 8, 10, obviously 37. And then we get to 46, so 4 and 6 is 10. And then we get to 55. Now, the only difference with 55 is there's no mirror reflection number that's different other than itself. So 55 and 55. Whereas when we have 19, then the mirror reflection would be 91. 28 would be 82. So we know 37 is 73 and 46 is 64. Okay. So that's what started this whole thing. And then finding this pattern, it's a repeating pattern. Again, it's one of these sort of hidden, but right there in plain sight, these repeating patterns. And I feel like this particular pattern, and maybe all of this from the very get-go, it's leading up to something. It's showing us almost like an algorithm, I guess. It's showing us a pattern. It's how do we apply that pattern or that sequence? Where do we apply it? How do we apply it? That's the question. But let me show you this sort of breakdown and how all of this kind of just came to be. So again, we have 37 and 73. That's the numbers that are just super relevant through this entire code. And as we all know, as we've seen repeatedly, I've pointed this out hundreds of times now, that 37 and 73 are mirror reflections of one another. And then as I just talked about, we have 19 and 91, 28 and 82, 37 and 73, 46 and 64, and then of course 55. And then its mirror reflection is 55. So looking at this, let's jump to this next screen here. I laid them out in a sort of a straight row, okay? So 19 at the beginning, 91 at the end. And as I'm sitting here staring at this, I'm obviously seeing another pattern and sort of another hidden reference, if you will, to that phrase, the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. Because here's the sequence. So if we look at the first digit of every number, it is simply following the pattern of 1 through 9. So just the first digit, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then it repeats backwards. So the last digit of every number is following that same sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if we stack these up on one another, as you can see right here, so 1 through 9, 9 through 1, again, it's that sort of the beginning, because we can see that 1 is the beginning and 1 is the end. 9 is the end and 9 is the beginning. So it's just a tie-in back to that phrase, that repeating phrase that keeps showing up over and over again. Now, here's something that I'm just jumping all over the place here with this. Let's go back here. So here's something else that is kind of really interesting when we take the numbers 1 through 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we add that to the mirror reflection. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this here on the screen so you guys can see this, even though I have it covered up right here. But I just want to show you the math that, again, the math is what the math is. So we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and add that to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And check this out. So we have nothing but ones and then a final 0 at the end. Now, and this is exactly what I have right here. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting about this result. So if we know, we've seen this before, that there is a code that sort of instructs us to add the numbers separated by the commas. Okay, so let's clear this out and let's just look up here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, all ones and 1 0. So let's just start at the very beginning. So we're going to take 1 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 110, and we have 3, 3, 3. Now, obviously, for those of you that have been here since the beginning, you know that that's a very important number. That's the very first number that ever started showing itself to me repeatedly every night for nearly 11 months back in 2009. So from, January to November, I kept waking up at 3:33 a.m. So it is interesting that we see this number simply by adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus the mirror reflection 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, as I am demonstrating here in this area right here, so we have 19 plus its mirror reflection. So 19 plus 91 is 110. 28 plus 82 is 110. 37 and 73, 110. 46, 64 is 110. And then obviously 55 plus 55, again, is 110. 110, as we know, is the value of the name Jesus Christ in Hebrew ordinal Gematria. And when I was talking about the number 55 not really having a mirror reflection that's different, okay? It's the same number, 55, 55. When I say different, I'm talking about like how 46 and 64, it's the same numbers, they're flipped. But 55 and 55, there's no flip, it's the same number. But it's interesting that 55 is the value of... That's funny. I forgot the R. So it says Lord, L-O-D God. It should be Lord God. That's funny. Okay. There we go. We corrected that. So again, it's interesting that 55 is Lord God, and then 110 is the value of Jesus Christ. And that each one of these numbers does this. It comes back to 110. Now, no real surprise there, other than the fact that, adding 1 through 9 and 9 through 1, we get this huge number that comes back to 333. But when we start breaking this down, we look at the first column. So if we take 19 plus 28 plus 37 plus 46 plus 55, we get the number 185, okay? 185 just so happens to be the value of the letter He, okay, in matrix gematria. And He means God, okay? Now, the other interesting part of this is that 185 is the equivalent of 37 times 5, okay? Now, this is what's the most interesting. So even though we're looking at all of these other numbers, 19, 28, 37, 46, 55, it still keeps coming back to 37, okay? And its mirror reflection of 73. So now if we take the second column, 91 plus 82 plus 73 plus 64 plus 55, as you can see right here, we get the value of 365, okay? Now, 365 it's interesting because it's the value of this phrase, and the phrase is, and they sent him, okay? And they sent him, which I think, in my opinion, it's very relevant, and it's interesting when we think back to the Bible code that I found about how the firstborn father came. He came here. And then we see this phrase, and they sent him, like he was sent here. It's very interesting. Now, if we look at the number 365, we discover that it is the equivalent of 73 times 5, okay? So again, there's that number, 3773. 37 and 73. And again, the numbers 5 and 5. Now, in Hebrew ordinal gematria, this letter He is going to have the value of 5 because it is the 5th letter. Okay? So matrix gematria it's all the letters going up by the number 37. So 37, 74, 111, so on. That's how we get this value of 185. So it is interesting to see that connection back. Now, the other cool thing here is, we talk about mirror reflections, but then we also talk about, adding the mirror reflection of a number. So if we look at 185 and we add its mirror reflection of 581, we get 766. And then if we look at 365 and add its mirror reflection of 563, we get 928 for a grand total of 1964, which just so happens to be the value of universal simulation. The world is a calculation, and Jesus speaks through. Okay? Now, think about these phrases. So we're talking about this entire reality that we see all around us being a simulation. And so obviously we get universal simulation. But then it talks about how the world itself is a calculation. Well, yeah, if it's a simulation being driven by a formula, a mathematical formula, then yeah, everything, the world, everything is a calculation. And when we think of Jesus Christ, not being a man, but being the energy source that controls everything, that binds everything together, it's the energy source that basically runs the entire simulation, because it's the all-encompassing energy source that courses through everything. Okay, so when it says Jesus speaks through, well, yes, it's speaking through this code, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the repeating patterns. 110 being the value of Jesus Christ. 37, 73, those repeating numbers. We're seeing this all play out in the numbers, in the code. It just keeps coming back to that time and time again. Now, over here, I've sort of done this, cross inside of a number pyramid. And I just thought it was interesting that these numbers, 19, 28, 37, 46, 55, 64, 73, 82, and 91, could be formatted or fashioned into a triangle or a pyramid, with 55 being at the top. And as I'm sitting here looking at this, then I start thinking, okay, well, 55, that's the crown of this pyramid. And then we have 3773, which these numbers keep coming back to. Even when we're using other numbers like 19 and 91, 28 and 82, 46 and 64, 55 and 55. You'll see this here in just a moment. It keeps coming back to the number 37 and its mirror reflection of 73. So if we drew a line down and a line over, we would get a cross fitting right in the center of this. So that's kind of interesting as well. Now, let's very quickly jump over here. And this is where it really starts to kind of kick in, that we're going to see we just saw a repeating pattern happening, but we're going to see it even more, and we're going to see it how it keeps connecting back to the numbers 11, 333, 369. I mean, it all keeps coming back. So I started thinking, okay, 37, it's the dominant number for some reason in this code. It's what makes up Genesis 1:1 with its value of 2701. It's the equivalent of 37 times 73. And that particular sequence is the only sequence where you take two numbers, for example, 37 and 73, and you multiply them and get a new number. Then when you take that new number, which is going to be 2701, and add its mirror reflection, you get the two numbers you just started with, 37 and 73. All the other numbers, they don't do that. If you take, let's show you, for example, what I'm saying here. So if you take, let's just do the math here again really quickly on the screen. So 37 times 73 gives us 2701, and then we add its mirror reflection of 1072, and we have 3773, okay? But if we take 1991, 19 times 91, we get 1729, okay? So now if we take 9271, which would be its mirror reflection, and add that, so 9271, we get, lo and behold, which we'll see here in just a moment, 11,000. Okay, it's not a palindrome, and it's not a number that's repeating the same forwards and backwards. Like 3773 or 1991. 3773 is the only number that does that. It's the only number that does that, and that's why I'm saying it's the dominant number in this pattern. So with that thinking in mind, I started going through and thinking, okay, well, what would 37 times each one of these numbers, 19, 28, obviously 37, 46, and 55, what would the result be if we took 37 and multiplied it by each one of those numbers? So 37 times 19 is 703, okay? So again, 7, 3, we have that 3-7 connection. Now, 703 plus 307 is 1010, okay? Now, there is something unique about that, because look what happens if we take 1010 plus its mirror reflection of 0101, and lo and behold, we have 1111, okay? Now, let's look at the second number. So 37 times 28 is 1036, and its mirror reflection of 6301. Add those two together, we have 7337. Okay, so again, there's the 37, but this time instead of 3773, it's 7337. It's turned inwards. We've seen this before. Multiple times. Okay. Now, 37 times 37 is 1369, which, as we should know by now is the value of Jesus in matrix gematria. Okay? So 1369 plus its mirror reflection of 9631 is 11,000. Okay? So here's this 11 connection. Now, what is interesting, and again, I haven't completely puzzled this one completely out yet, but if we take 11,000 plus its mirror opposite of 00011, we get 11,011. Okay? And it's almost, and we've seen this before. We've seen it with 7337, where a 0 appears in the middle. Okay? We've seen that happen. And it's almost like it's adding that space between Jesus and Christ. It's almost as though we're seeing that same pattern happen here with the 0 between the two 11s. It's interesting. Now, let's move on. So 37 times 46 is 1702. We've seen that number before as well. So 1702 plus its mirror opposite of 2071 is 3773. Okay? The 3 and 7 connection. Now, 37 times 55 is 2035, and 2035's mirror reflection is 5302. Add those two together, and now we have the turned inwards 73 and 37 again. Okay? Moving on. 37 times 64 is 2368, which I want to point out is the value of Jesus Christ in Greek gematria. Okay? And its mirror reflection of 8632, and we're back to 11,000. Then 37 times 73, as we know, is 2701, and its mirror reflection of 1072. Add them together. Again, we have 3773. See how it keeps coming back over and over again. It's either 3773 or 7337 turned inwards. It's literally going right back to what I was talking about with the Tesseract and how it was folding back in on itself and rebirthing itself over and over and over, and like turning inwards and turning inwards. And we're just seeing this play out. Okay, so then 37 times 82 is 3034 plus its mirror reflection of 4303. Add those together, and again, we're back to 7337. And then lastly, 37 times 91 is 3367. Add its mirror reflection of 7633, and we have 11,000. Okay? So 3367 plus 7633, 11,000. Now, so it's interesting that it keeps repeating itself. And even when we look up here at 1010, okay, if we were to follow that pattern earlier, where I was talking about adding the numbers separated by the commas. So 1010, okay, so we're going to add the number separated by the commas. So we would add, let's get rid of this, 1 plus 010, we have 11, okay? Again, it's going back to these repeating numbers, 11, 37, 73, 333. It just keeps repeating. Now, here's what's interesting. Look at the numbers or the number sequences that the result is 11,000, okay? It's this one, the third one, the sixth one, and the ninth one. Now think about that. The third, the sixth, and the ninth. 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. And we get 11,000. Okay? Now, there's another pattern here. Okay? And again, we don't see it when we're just looking, but when you start thinking outside the box, it becomes very evident. You'll see here in just a second. So let's take 703. Okay, that's the first number right here, 703. And we're going to add the number 333. We get 1036, which is the value of the second number, 37 times 28. Now we're going to add 333 again, and we have 1369, the third number. We're going to add 333 again, and we have 1702, the value of the fourth number. This keeps going, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and finish out the sequence. So plus 333 is 2035, as we see right here. On the fifth number, add 333. We have 2368. Okay, the difference between each number is 333. Again, what are the chances? Keep going. So 333 is 2701. That's the value of the seventh number. Add 333. We have 3034, the value of the eighth number. And add 333 for the last time. And we have 3367, which is the value of the ninth number. And again, folks, it keeps coming back. And it's just, I mean, it's interesting to me that we are seeing that we know that when we take 333 times 1111, we get 369963. That palindrome number. It's the same forwards and backwards. And again, so what are the chances that the value between each number in this sequence is going to be 333, and that only the third, the sixth, and the 11th number would equal 11,000. It's incredible. I mean, there's an obvious pattern taking place here. Now, there's yet another one. So, thinking of taking the 19 and the 91, okay, those mirror reflection numbers. So we're going to take the resulting number of 37 times that number, 19, and 37 times 91, and the resulting number. Okay, so the beginning and the end numbers, the results. And we're going to take and add those together. So what I mean by that is we're going to take 703 and add it to 3367, okay? Because, we're looking at 19 and 91. So when we do this, we take 703, add it to 3367, we get 4070. Go to the next number, 1036, which is the result of 37 times 28. And then we're going to take 37 times 82, the mirror reflection of 28, and we get 3034. So we're going to take 1036 plus 3034, and again, we get 4070. Every number in this sequence does this. 1369 plus 2701 is 4070. We've obviously seen that before because that is the value of Jesus Christ in matrix gematria. And again, every single number is doing this, coming back to 4070, with Jesus being the value of 1369 and Christ being the value of 2701 for a combined total of 4070. Again, folks, it keeps coming back to this sequence. These repeating phrases, these repeating numbers, these repeating patterns, and keeps coming back to this name, if you want to call it a name. I don't think of Jesus as being a man. I think of Jesus as being all men, all things in creation. It is the energy source, and it keeps pointing back to that and showing repeatedly that Jesus, this energy source, it speaks through these calculations, this universal simulation. again and again. It's very cool to find these patterns like this. But I keep having this overwhelming feeling that it's showing us some kind of sequence. Like I said earlier, it's some kind of algorithm. If we can just figure out how and where to apply these patterns, what can we do with it? That's the ultimate question. Why are we being shown these patterns other than, I guess to show that we are within a simulation? But I keep feeling like there's something bigger and broader to this. It's showing us the steps, okay? The mathematical steps, the mathematical patterns to trying to figure this out. I think we're getting closer. I mean, we keep getting closer and closer and closer and closer. I just hope it... I just watched this recently, a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it's probably been a little bit longer than that, but National Treasure, where... oh my God, what's his name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh my God, why can I not think of his name? Jeez. Oh my God. I'm like having a total... Kevin... Not Kevin. Oh my God. What is wrong with me this morning? Nicolas Cage. Oh my God. Jesus. Man, that was a major mind melt right there. So anyway, Nicolas Cage. When his character is talking with his dad, and his dad is just like telling him, you're chasing a never-ending thing. One clue leads to another clue, and that clue leads to another clue, and that clue leads to another clue, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. That's what it feels like at times, but I feel like it's showing us something. We just got to figure it out. We just have to put it together. We just have to put it together. But again, when we see these sequences playing out, getting 110, leading us right back to Jesus and Christ, and seeing these sequences, 19 through 55, so 19, 28, 37, 46, 55, equaling 185, the equivalent of 37 times 5. And with 37 being the value of Jesus and 5 being the value of God. I mean, you cannot deny these connections anymore. The question is why mathematically is it using these calculations, these numbers? What is it showing us? Other than what I've already said, the beginning is the end is the beginning. When you think of any number, no matter how large it is, it's always going to reduce to a number 1 through 9. There's not a number out there that's not going to reduce to anything else but a number 1 through 9. And when you think of like 1 through 9 and then you get to 10, we're sort of conditioned to think that 10 is a completely separate number, which in a way it is. But when it reduces back to 1. It reduces back to the beginning. The beginning. And the whole sequence starts over. So even, when we get to 10, and then we get to 11, and then 12, those numbers are going to reduce to 2 and 3 and so on. And the whole sequence is going to repeat again, 1 through 9. So, yeah. I just thought this was sort of an interesting breakdown, an interesting way of finding these patterns. And it's just weird that it's never clicked, in my head before to really look at the other numbers that follows that same sequence of 37, just resulting to 10, and then seeing that 19, 28, 37, 46, 55, that whole breakdown. It's just interesting. I mean, I don't know what else or how else to, really sort of explain it other than the fact that it is interesting. But what does it mean? That's the ultimate question. What does it mean? Where is it leading us? What's the point of this mathematical code? And how do we use it? What can we use it for? That's the question. That's the ultimate question. But to wrap this up, I think it does just help solidify even more than what it already has, that again, we are within a mathematical simulation, a calculation, and everything is a number. Everything. All right, folks, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up here. It is election day, so I'm sure a lot of you were probably anticipating that I would put out a video on the Bible codes. I'm going to let that play out and see what happens. And then we'll talk about it at some point later with the other codes that I found with Kamala and Biden, which I've shown you some of it, but just keep in mind what I've said from the very beginning, what I've found. And we're already seeing this playing out in the news. We're already seeing Trump saying that, the election's being stolen from him. Both sides are talking about, fraud. I mean, it's literally what I found in the codes. And it was in both Kamala and Trump. Both had the word fraud just all over it. Multiple times. So, but we'll see what plays out here. We're going to see what plays out, and see what the result is, and we'll take it from there. So, okay, folks, that's going to be it this time. Let me know what you think of these patterns. Just, it's not like the pattern is hidden. It is, in a way, hidden, but it's been right there in plain sight all this time. It's just knowing to put the numbers in the right sequence to get the result. And it's not like I'm doing anything fantastical here, on the screen. It is what it is. The numbers do what the numbers do. There's no tricking this. There's no fudging the numbers to get an intended result. It is the result that it is. So it's just very, very cool. Very cool. All right, that's it. Until next time, I hope you all take care, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.